What's up, everybody? This is Jessica Lane, host of Safe Space. This is season one, episode two of the home buyer process. Last week, we were discussing getting over those fears of the home buying process and getting you all the way to pre approval. So, tonight, we're going to be focusing on contract to closing, everything that a home buyer would experience during this process and exactly what to expect. So tonight I have with me a realtor from JS Premier Real Estate. Her name is Keila Feaster.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you being on tonight. Just say a little bit about yourself. If you can just introduce everyone to exactly what it is that you do, how you got into real estate, and then we can move on with our questions for our listeners tonight.
Sure thing. So, as she stated, my name is Keila Feaster. Um, I live in Blackstock, South Carolina, born and raised. And I actually started out in the mortgage industry back in 2006.
I did not know that.
Yes, I started working for City Mortgage in 2006 in mortgage default. And during that time, I was pretty much helping people pay their mortgage payments, working out financial arrangements. I worked through the housing market crash that came following that shortly. And so really just helping people figure out what to do once they've defaulted on their mortgage. So after 4 years working there, I actually took that knowledge and flipped it and built my own home without even using a realtor at the time. So I did it all by myself, just paying attention to what I was telling everybody else not to do, and making it work for me. So that was
Right.
definitely an interesting process. And I shout out my knowledge at City for that. And then from there, I worked at City up until 2016, and did a little bit more of mortgage work at Wells Fargo. And in 2019, I decided to go to real estate school. And that was primarily because when I was at City, I had customers kind of tell me that, hey, you're very knowledgeable. You should get into real estate. But I'm one of those people, I really believe in God's timing is everything. At that
Right.
point in time, I never thought about real estate, being an entrepreneur or
Oh, you
anything.
just like me.
So it was like when in one ear, I think I looked up exit realty and I was like, oh, okay. And I pushed it off to the side. But God brought it back to me in 2019. I went to school, got my license in 2020, and I've been selling real estate in North and South Carolina ever since. And I love it because it just brought everything full circle. So I have that back end experience, and now I'm able to help on the front end to kind of help people prepare from A to Z.
Right. And let me tell you, Keila is good. She services South Carolina and North Carolina, and we're actually both with JS Premier Real Estate. Just recently, I joined my husband's team. We formed a team called the Lane Real Estate Agency, which is powered by JS Premier. So, yay! I'm so glad that you're on tonight. I come to her
Yes,
so often, with questions and stuff, and she's so knowledgeable and so helpful. So I appreciate you. So.
no
I want to
problem.
get into a few questions. Now, if we don't get into all of them, we will be going through some questions on next week's episode, so stay tuned. So, with the home buyer process, if someone is actually, they have gone officially under contract, what are some of the first steps clients should expect once they go under that contract for a home?
Once you go under contract, I need for you to pay your earnest money. That's the first thing I'm telling you. Like, call the attorneys, get the wire information, get your money sent over.
I know
First,
that's right.
first things first. Kind of my 24-hour thing is to pay your earnest money and call the inspectors to get your appointment on the books. So those are the first two things I have my clients do, and they kind of know like I need your money to be ready because
Right.
within 24 hours, I need that paid and I need this book, this schedule. So,
Right. I know that's the truth. I know with the earnest money and then like the due diligence. So yeah, so you want to make sure that you guys are on point with it.
right.
Time is of the essence when it comes to real estate and buying a home. So those two things are very important when
Hmm.
actually going under contract. You don't want to waste a lot of time.
Right.
So Our next question is, can you explain the role of a home inspection during the home buying process and why it is important?
Absolutely. So, what I tell a lot of my clients, and primarily my clients are first time home buyers. And I am one of those realtors that I will never, ever advise you not to get a home inspection.
Right,
Everybody don't do it, but I think that it is something that you should do because for most people, purchasing a home is going to be the largest investment that you'll
right.
ever
It
do.
really is.
And if you're going to take the time to get all these hundreds of thousands of dollars for a house, how can you not take the time to get it checked out to make sure that it's of good quality?
Right.
And that's basically what your home inspection does. So it's a great starting point to get an overall idea of your investment. The home inspector generally comes out and allots about a 3 to 4 hour window. And they will check a lot of things from the interior to the exterior to the plumbing, HVAC, roofing, crawl space, foundation, side, like
Everything.
they check everything, and let you know if it's in satisfactory condition or if it's something that needs to be addressed and whether or not they recommend, further evaluation by licensed contractors. But I am definitely a huge advocate for get your home inspection, understand what's happening because a lot of people forget they do have that due diligence
I
period.
hear the little one.
Yes, you do. They do have that due diligence period in which, you know, that's the time for you to do your due diligence. So you're allowed to check out the home. That way, if something isn't right, you have enough time to go back to the seller to negotiate, try to get some of those repairs either resolved or get some type of compensation, meaning that hey, maybe you went under contract at $300,000, but there's some work that needs to be done. So maybe they give you $10,000 off the sales price to accommodate and offset those repairs.
And so when you get into that, what are some common issues that might arise during the appraisal process and how should clients handle them?
So, common things that may arise during the appraisal process, first, I will say is the home may not actually appraise.
And I
So,
guess I failed to mention, like,
Mhm.
if you could tell everyone exactly what an appraisal is.
So an appraisal is just the estimated value of your home's market value. Typically, that is going to be done by a licensed appraiser that you do pay for to your loan officer. And they'll have an independent appraiser come out to estimate the value of your home. And the reason why that is important is because the bank is only going to loan you the value of your home. So if you
Right.
have a house for $300,000 and the value comes in at 280, well, then one or two things got to happen. You either got to pay the $20,000 difference to get the house, or you got to talk to the seller and see if you all can do some negotiations to get that price reduced in order to move forward with purchasing the property. So I think that's really the number one thing that people have their fingers and toes crossed for when that appraisal is done is that one, the house appraises for at or above. Because of course, if it's above value, that means you're walking in with equity, meaning they did a hell of a job getting you on the contract because you got some equity going into the home. Another common issue I would say is, and I see this a lot more with FHA
Hmm.
loans when the appraiser is done and there may be some conditions that comes back from the appraiser that the bank is going to require to be completed in order for them to lend on the loan.
Right.
For example, I've had a house come back that we were under contract on and there were foundation issues. And because that was noted by the FHA appraiser, at that point, it was something that had to be fixed. So the only options that my clients had at that point in time was to either A, get the seller to repair it, B, walk away from it, or C, they could pay for it themselves if they just wanted the property.
I think
Because
I'll just walk away if it has to deal with foundation issues.
that's exactly what we did.
Right.
And we use some negotiations because a lot of times sellers don't know or aren't aware that once that is on that appraisal report, like it has to be disclosed. And if you put it back on the market, it's not going to be able to go FHA, which is the majority of the buying pool. So
Right, it is.
sometimes that works in your favor.
Yeah, because I deal with a lot of first time home buyers as well.
Yeah.
And some conventional.
Conventional is sweet, but
Yeah,
a lot of our people don't qualify for conventional, unfortunately.
yeah. So the next question, and thank you for answering that.
Mhm.
How do you guide your clients through the process of securing financing, and what should they be prepared for?
So the way I got my clients through the process is my consultations is literally like a conversation, as if literally I pick up the phone and call you and I talk to you like you my homegirl and you my homeboy. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's not. I like to say it's not like a standardized test or where I'm just asking you a question, taking down your answer. We're really and truly having a conversation that's engaging so that I can understand your home readiness. I need to know, what does that employment history look like? What does your financial situation look like? What does your credit look like? Um, and we kind of talk through those things. That way, if there's any problems that I hear of or any red flags prematurely, we want to try to have all those things worked out before we get you over to the loan officer. So I have that engaging consultation to determine their home readiness. And also through that consultation, it kind of allows me to figure out which loan officer that I work with is going to best meet their needs.
Right. That's so important.
Yeah, because as we know, all
We
loans
know.
ain't the same. Okay.
Right. Right. So, what can clients expect during the final walkthrough? So, we almost made it to the end,
hmm
and we're doing that final walkthrough right before closing. So, what can clients expect during that process?
So during your final walkthrough, it's a time to be excited, but it's also a time to pay attention. You definitely want to make sure that the house looks exactly like it was when you came through and you put your offer in up on it. You want to make sure there's no additional issues that has popped up that needs to be fixed or repairs. And if there were any repairs that needed to be done that were agreed upon, that final walkthrough is pretty much when you're also going to make sure that all those repairs are done so that we can close, because sometimes these people try to play in your face and
Right.
they'll try to patch some stuff up or act like this is done or that wasn't done. But it definitely can delay closing. So I always kind of tell my clients, like, you have to have some tough skin when you're going through the home buying process, and you have to force yourself not to get so caught up in the fact that, hey, I'm about to be a homeowner, that you just start letting, some stuff
Let stuff
slide.
slide.
Right. But that important stuff, we got to make sure we nip that in the bud. So if that means delaying closing until they get your repairs fixed, then that's what we
That's what it's
mean.
going to be.
No, that's what it's gonna be. Yeah.
I know that's right. So, can you describe what happens on closing day? So, we done made it through the walkthrough. We finally made it to the closing day. Thank you, Jesus.
Yes, closing day. I love closing day. Okay. Why I love closing day? Because I get to celebrate with my clients. We get some goodies for them. But you go to the attorney's office, and they welcome you with open arms. So basically, all the documents that you signed electronically throughout the entire process, you're gonna physically sign those documents.
And that's
And
a long process, by the way. Signing all that paperwork, signing
yes,
your life away. It's a
yeah,
lot. It's
signing
a
your
lot, but it's exciting though, especially
yeah.
when you get those keys.
So you do all your paperwork. The closing attorney goes over, the terms of your mortgage. What happens if you happen to default? If you don't pay, you can't stay. Um,
Right.
they're also gonna, go over your homeowner's insurance, property taxes, things that may be state specific as to how to make sure you don't do anything that's gonna cause hindrance or unexpected issues when it comes down to your property taxes, right? So like, for example, for the state of South Carolina, if you fail to register the property as your primary residence, you will be taxed at 6% versus 4%. So it's those types of things that they go over, and you're going to have a stack of papers, and it's going to be a lot of information.
Right.
But once they go through everything, they're gonna give you your keys and let you know that, hey, everything is done. And a lot of attorneys will wait and confirm that your loan has been financed before they even allow you to leave. But you do have some that will go ahead and give you the keys and let you leave beforehand and
Yeah,
then
that's what happened to me.
confirm. Which one?
They, they just gave me them keys, girl, and they said, "Hey, here you go. It's time to go ahead and move in." But hey, as long as I got them keys and I'm
Them
still
keys.
here, so
It's a great feeling though. Like
it
I've
is.
actually had some buyers who, like I had one buyer who was just like she didn't even know if she was gonna get the house. She had gotten so frustrated,
Mm-hmm.
like within 24 hours beforehand. Like I did not the day of, I got up, prepared myself. I did not know if my client was coming to close and go pay.
Oh no!
Yes.
Oh no!
And she
She was
called
real
me.
frustrated.
She was. She called me like an hour and a half before I was due to leave to head to Columbia and told me that she'll meet me at the attorney's office. But when she got there and got to signing, she just lit up. She was like, I'm so glad I didn't walk away from this. She was
Right?
like,
How you gonna go so far into
yeah.
it and then
I
back
think
away?
part of it was because like her loan was done, everything was done like in 3 weeks. So it
Mm-hmm.
was really, 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 really rushed.
Right. It's a
Which
lot
was
to
good.
process.
Yes.
Yeah, she
Yes.
might
And
have
we
been
got her
overwhelmed.
in before the holidays. So that was another thing. So it was great. She was home before Christmas, but it was really, really rushed. And what I will always advise people is just remember you would never know your final numbers until right before closing.
Right.
And all I tell people is like build a cushion because you don't know. And there's so many people that's just like, okay, they see, the first set of disclosures or what's estimated, and they think that is just locked in. And then when the numbers may go up, they're like, oh, but I was expecting this, or I can get this. I'm like, no, wait. I don't know how many times I have to tell people to wait.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. Because even
We
from
gotta
the
hold
final
on.
disclosure that goes to the attorney until the attorney tell you what to wire them, it might be it still can be different.
Right. You just want to be prepared.
Mhm.
Be prepared. Yes, it's an overwhelming experience, but it's also very exciting at the same time. And
Right,
you done made it that far and just see like you're right there over the horizon of getting this home. So
right.
why not just go ahead and take that jump and go ahead and get those keys?
That's right. The
Yeah,
better
so
prepared you are, the better the process is gonna be.
right. So with our last question, now we done made it through these questions really fast.
We have.
Yeah, I was expecting to have these questions being answered on part three, but it's all good. I'm glad that we was able to get them answered so quickly. But I
Okay.
will tell everyone, if you do have any questions, additional questions for Keila, please drop them in the comments below our podcast or on YouTube. And Keila, last question: what advice do you have for clients to ensure a smooth transition from being under contract to becoming new homeowners?
Be very communicative, responsive, and
Oh,
remember
that's a
all
big
these
one.
things.
Responsive. You said it.
Like, I cannot tell you how important it is to stick to your timeline. If the loan officer or your realtor asks you for something, do your best to get it to them same day as soon as possible. And I know for some people that may not be possible depending upon work, things of that nature, but that's when you need to lean in and trust your realtor that you
Right.
have. Because there have been times where my clients are at work, but baby, they got me logging into their bank accounts and printing out their stuff because they can't do it during the workday, whereas I can.
Right.
So yeah, you got to be communicative and you got to be able to respond and get that stuff back to underwriting as soon as possible so you don't fall off that time frame. Because remember, at the end of the day, it takes two signatures for a
Mm-hmm.
contract to be effective. And if you don't meet that closing date deadline, you
Right.
might be okay with the land, but that don't mean the seller is going to be okay with the land. Okay.
We hope that they will be.
Right. But we cannot guarantee that because sometimes They, for their own personal reasons, they may not want to or they can't. Or if it's multiple delays, they're gonna end up giving you a hard deadline. And so it can't be, hey, I asked for this at 10 o'clock on a Monday, but you don't give it back to me until Tuesday at 9 o'clock.
Right.
That's
Have you ever
too
been through
too
that
late.
situation
Yep.
personally? Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And I had that same conversation. Like
Mm,
you gotta respond quicker.
right. I strongly agree with that.
Yeah. How can I step in? If you don't want your realtor to do it, you need to get somebody you trust in your family. Somebody got to be able to get the stuff that we need when we need it. And
Right.
so, at least at the latest by the next morning. If you can't get it done that same day, then you need to have it over to them that night or first thing that following morning for them to be able to work on.
Right. I so agree. So I want to personally say thank you so much for being on this podcast tonight.
You're
I
welcome.
truly appreciate it.
No
And
problem.
so next week, guys, I want you to stay tuned. Like I said, it is part three, the final part of our three-part series of the home buying process. Next week, after you get that home and you're in there and settled, what is next? Thank you so much, Keila. This concludes our episode of Contract to Closing, and I hope everyone has a great night.